Evening and welcome to the July 22nd, 2024 City Council Work Session. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. For work sessions like this one, where there is no opportunity for public comment, those wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by calling into one of the phone numbers listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials web page. And thank you again for joining us. And with that, I am going to call the July 22nd, 2024 City Council work session to order, and then we are going to immediately go into executive session. The Eugene City Council will now meet in executive session held pursuant to ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate employment-related performance. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the meeting. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to record or report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the meeting. And we don't have any counselors online today, so we're good to go in this place. We don't have to worry about people logging out, but we will let To this July 22nd, 2024 City Council work session. We're back in public session, city manager performance evaluation, and I am going to turn this directly over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few opening comments. I'll just walk through the evaluation, which should be getting posted soon, so the public has access to it. First, by just starting with gratitude I feel for all of you and for this organization. It's been an incredible honor to be able to serve this community and all of the employees and all of you, even as we navigate some of the most difficult challenges. It just, every year just feels more and more soulful, and especially being in this space, it feels especially inspiring this year to be kind of wrapping up in July. I would normally go through and walk through a lot of accomplishments as part of a self-evaluation, but in this case, you're receiving the strategic plan update on Wednesday that has a whole lot of things that have been happening at the organization that you'll see. But I did highlight a couple, this building being one of them, and it wasn't so much the purchase, it was actually the work of the team to do all the remodeling and the repairs and take advantage of the opportunity to come up with a really simple, elegant design that was very so much more cost effective than building anything like it this size. So I feel really proud about that. The financial stability, you know, we still have big challenges ahead, but I feel really proud of the team and what we've done to try to solve that in the short term. A lot of pride around how we responded to the University District closure. There's still some work happening there, so I couldn't highlight all of the things, but the way the fire department pivoted, the way they've used this as an opportunity to innovate service, and there's been some work with community members around other opportunities that may emerge that we can talk more about later. So this has been actually a really good space for us to be in. The fire governance work continues to move forward, a lot of work, but we've actually gotten to a pretty good place. This time last year, I wasn't sure where we were heading, and I feel a lot more confident now. And a lot of pride in continuing to curate and build and maintain a really solid executive team that actually does all, you know, them and their teams do all of the really important work at the organization that I just get feedback for. So I like to give them a lot of love too. The evaluation process this year was a self-evaluation. I interviewed a whole bunch of people one-on-one, so there wasn't a survey. These are direct conversations. And I got some really good feedback. A lot of it was consistent in terms of how people are experiencing me, and I kind of talked about my leadership and relationships and some of the things that came up for people around just basically my style, and I won't go into that because it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. So I'll just move into opportunity areas. So I did ask people about blind spots, and what typically came up were maybe more organizational opportunities or partnership opportunities. So one issue always, and it came up last year, and I think it's probably going to come up every year, is we could always do better with communication. And this, you know, everything from how we tell our story, you know, even getting the city newsroom up so people could get factual information, it's hard to get it out to people, and so I think that's still a gap. All the way to the detail of when you send an email request or you forward something, how we close the loop back with you. So this is like big picture how we tell our story, and little picture how you know we've got it or that we've solved it or that someone's answering it. So this is work that we'll continue to determine how we can improve. I heard a lot about downtown. People really have noticed that we've made different investments, in particular around some of the safety and cleanliness, but a lot of people feel like it's not enough, and that if we really want to have a lot of housing in downtown, that may hold us up. And so I think that focus of how we continue to develop downtown really matters to many people in the community. Heard a lot about hoping that we can do more around economic development and supporting businesses. I think this started with some of the work of the Blue Ribbon Committee, but it's continued in terms of understanding, for me to better understand the impacts we're having on the business community and to better communicate that to you before you make your decisions, and also how we work to become more, in quote unquote, business friendly. So good information about that. Heard a lot about, you know, we've got really good partnerships right now. I've been in the role long enough and the relationships are strong that we should do more with that. So that could be everything from, how can we work closer with eWeb on climate? How can we work closer with eWeb on emergency resilience? How can we work closer with the U of O on some of our policing issues? So there was just a lot of places where I think we could really leverage, with LCC, with the school districts. So I'm excited about that. Heard a bit, and especially inside the organization, around folks wanting to see me more. Quote unquote, one of the people said, our members love you and they want to see more of you. So it was those kinds of comments. So that's just a figure, this has come up every year too. It's one group or the other. So that's good. People aren't saying, yeah, we've got plenty. Just you stay away. I heard a lot about resources inside the organization, in particular around how the amount of work that's being asked of people to be done. And, I'll use an example like, there's a lot of mandates that come from the state. And at a time we're dwindling in our resources and trying to figure that out while more mandates come in. And in fact, some of those mandates are coming from internal. They're things like changing our budget system and changing the way we do strategic planning. So some of those things have caused a toll, and I heard about that. So it's good information, how we simplify and continue to move forward. And so I think with that, I will turn it over to you because you may have other things you want to add. And I will also add, there's a couple of people I still haven't interviewed that are important to me. And so I will continue to do that and build their feedback in. So more to come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have Alan in the queue, and then Mike, Randy, Jennifer. Okay, kick it away. Kick it off, Alan.
Thanks, Mayor. Sarah, you're a rock star. You're doing a great job. I really don't have much to say about the way that you do your job. I think Mike and I were conferring. I think you're the 7th city manager that we've worked with in our 18 years, and best one yet. And so really appreciate you for all the work that you do. I hope you retire here. At the beginning of your tenure, I said, if you keep the financial house in order, if you manage that during good and bad times, if you instill confidence that we're going to make it through this and that you have a plan and that we're going to work it out, you get a lot of leeway. And you've done that, probably way more than you wanted to or never thought you were going to have to do, especially in the last year or so. But the way you've managed the city's finances has really been great, and a credit to your skill, but also credit to the team that you've built around you and that you've assembled. You've assembled a great team that instills a lot of confidence in all the different aspects of the city services that we provide. But on top of that, you've built strong relationships, and those strong relationships enable you to have trust that you can work with people and through tough issues, and that's really a commodity that's hard to get in local government, but you seem to have done it with ease almost. I always felt like when issues popped up, you were going to handle them and I felt confident that we were going to work through them, and especially you at the helm, whether it be the pandemic and the COVID that was, a lot of cities did not even come close to faring as well as we did through it. The new city hall and being in this building, going from the most expensive option to the least expensive affordable option, and then doing all the work that we're doing to make it a city hall, it's been great. The fire governance issue, climate change, homeless and housing, all those issues, I just feel like you have instill a lot of confidence in me as a counselor that we're going to be able to work through them. And I just want to say I really enjoy working with you, and I think you've done a great job. And I hope you retire here. But years from now, right?
Okay, thank you. Mike, and then Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. I've sat here with him for 18 years, through all 7, and he stole my line there a little bit. Best one yet? Yeah, absolutely. And here's how I lay that out in specifics for me. I can remember times when all the city managers I've worked with had a mountain to climb. There was something that was an issue and a problem or whatever. And some of those times were pretty, harrowing, kind of nerve-wracking situations. You're the only one I've never seen kerfuffled about a difficult reality that we have to contend with. And I would make the argument you've had more of them than anybody else that I've worked with as a city manager. The things that we've had in the last couple of years, from a pandemic to a budget to, the size of the hills we've climbed, getting into this building in a permanent city hall, I can go on for quite a while, and you know that. The really great part for me in how I look at this, how you do the job, that I think is an important analysis. I heard this once, that deliberative bodies have, the hard job is to try and not let the emergent crowd out the important, okay? And I've never seen anybody who could balance that better. We working on the things that matter, that we have to take care of, that are dropped in our lap, but at the same time, we don't drop the important and work towards that maybe takes a little longer to get there. So, well done, manager. Please retire here years and years and years from now, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Randy and then Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Sarah, for being our city manager. I think you do an excellent job. I'm going to try not to repeat everything I've already heard because I think it was covered well. Anyone has any questions about your ability to execute, just stop for a minute and look around. This is a prime example of how you operate. You don't shy away from the hard decisions, the hard issues, and I think that's important. That's a sign of a leader, good leader. I've had a lot of experience with city managers here as well. In fact, I started and worked a number of years under Charles Henry. Gus Keller was the mayor. And watched succession of leaders come through. And, everybody had their strong points, their capabilities, and their flaws. I still go back to thinking that what really sets you apart are the relationships you're able to foster, build, and maintain. And maintaining is a big part of that because you can't please everybody all the time. And in fact, when you try, you don't please anybody. I like your decisiveness, as I've talked about before, and this isn't a fault of yours, and I have no suggestions of how to improve it. I think we do need to find better ways of getting information out to the public. And I don't know what the answer is to that. And I think communications have changed significantly since the pandemic. I think we do have some sources that are doing well and getting better, but we don't have a common source for everybody. So I'm hoping we can work on that. I know it's frustrating to people. We get a lot, as you know, thousands of emails and communications from people. And so many times the frustrations are based on things that aren't there. It's not factually correct, or they don't have the full story. And so I'm always thinking, how do we do a better job at that? And I really think it would make all of our jobs easier if we can find some solutions for that. But anyway, just a challenge that's out there. I hope you stay for a long time as well. And the other thing I was going to say, sometimes disagreeing, that's not a bad thing. I think that's how we get to better decisions frequently. And I think the differences that we have as counselors is a strength, not a weakness. And it's okay to disagree. We just have to keep trying to find that common ground. And I think you do a good job of that. So thank you, keep up the good work. And it's really been fun after all these years. I've known you for a long time. And it's really fun to see you in your role and to me be in my role. Thank you. And I'm out of time.
You're out of time. All right, Jennifer and then Lindsay.
Thanks, Mayor. So first, I'm just going to agree with what my colleagues have said wholeheartedly. I think you're doing an excellent job. I think I said this last year, but the reason I believe you are so good at collaboration and relationships is because you show up as your authentic self. Every time, every day, there's no city manager Sarah and then like in your office Sarah. Like you're just Sarah. And I think people see that and appreciate it, and so that they can trust you. They know that what you say you mean. We talk a lot about communication, and we talked about communication last year, and we're working on it, and I think we're making progress with our community. But I feel like for me and my experience with you and with staff, there has been a positive change. I think part of that is some of the personnel changes and having a more shared leadership structure. There's more folks that can get back to us and can get us that information we need. So I really appreciate that you took that feedback, which is a common trait that you have, and you know, things changed and you did what you could to address it. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Lindsay, then I have Mike and Emily.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you. I have not had the pleasure to have had 7 different city managers to serve under, just one, and I came in under interesting circumstances in the appointment process, and I couldn't have, felt better about coming in with you as the leader of the city. It's been such a pleasure to work with you. You've guided me through a lot of tough moments, and you've faced a lot of tough moments. I know how upset I was when we learned about the University District Hospital closure. And like many of my colleagues have said, you've kept cool and calm under these very tense moments. And that has enabled us to also meet these challenges with that same level of composure. So I just appreciate it, and I love working with you because you have so much humor and an ability to, like Jen said, meet us with yourself, and even when it's hard, we can meet, and I can trust you implicitly, and I know that. So I'm really looking forward to many more years of working with you as well, and I know that all of these challenges that we still have in our community, we can face them and we can keep working towards them. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Gratitude, praise, appreciation. Thanks, Sarah Mederi. I don't want to throw you a curveball, but I was taking your first name and attributing each letter which adjective or which way I can describe our city manager, and so S was, I was debating between successful and supportive and strong and sensible, and I landed on smart. You see the big picture, and you also recognize the importance of detail-oriented work. A, accessible. You're very easy for me, and I trust my colleagues and folks throughout the apparatus and the community to connect with. Thank you. Real, as was mentioned. The Sarah Mederi we see at the dais, the Sarah Mederi we see in your office, the Sarah Mederi we see in our one-on-ones, the Sarah Mederi we see at community events is Sarah Mederi, real and authentic. A, you are action-oriented. When this council has a directive or a direction for the city manager's office or for staff to take on, you take action and you follow up appropriately. And finally, H, and arguably the most important of the Sarah Mederi first name acronym. I'll spare you going into Mederi. H. Thank you. Honest. No, you're not that funny. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I like your sense of humor, your dry wit, your sarcasm. I was being sarcastic. That was my inner Sarah Mederi. Thanks. You're honest, Sarah. You tell it like it is. And that's refreshing, and it's appreciative. It's appreciated. Thank you, Sarah Mederi.
Okay, thank you. Emily and then Greg.
Thank you. Hey, thanks. You did a great job. I know you don't like these things, so great job. And I hope that you retire when you want to.
Thank you.
All right. Greg?
Thank you.
Okay, a man of few words, right? So before I turn this over to Matt, I'm just going to add a couple of comments. And of course, counselors have all said all of the things that really there are to be said. But I would just say a couple of things, which is I think that what the public sees about the city manager's role is what you do in public meetings, how you appear in public. They will see the policy issues that roll out, moving to City Hall or making a budget decision. They see all that. And I think what we're, in our way, sort of testifying to today as we talk about it is all of the background that's behind all of that we all get to experience about your ability to be authentic, to be a creative problem solver, to be a deep listener. I think even, when we think about the move into, well, so many things. I think the restructuring, adding a second assistant city manager, for instance, and what that has done for us. And we all experienced it right away. But it was your thinking through what you're seeing about the structure of the government that you needed more. You need a different structure. And the Revenue Advisory Panel, how you oversaw that process and were able to do that because you had this sort of deep roots. There's a lot of background that the public doesn't see that we experience. The move to City Hall, really that was a huge pivot, right? We were deeply invested in being in the traditional, we were going to be in the LCC building, you were looking at buildings downtown. It took a lot of courage to say, we need to go back and revisit this site that we had rejected. I'm looking at Mike just to give him kudos. And it takes courage to do that, to be able to say, let's take a moment and revisit this. So I think I just want to offer that sort of statement that there is so much that happens in this city that is not visible to the public and is profoundly important about the constructive way in which problem solving happens. And it is very much to your credit about building the right team, building those relationships, making sure that you've had enough conversations with everybody who needs to understand how you're thinking or where you think we ought to go, and getting their feedback. And it just plays out in just sort of your list of the top 5 things that have happened in the last year. So thank you, and it's a pleasure working with you and an honor. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Matt Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to authorize the council president to execute an amendment to City Manager Sarah Mederi's employment contract that, 1, awards Mederi a 3.5% of pay one-time lump sum contribution towards her retirement to be made no later than January 31, 2025, and 2, amends paragraph 5, and 2, amends paragraph 5 as set forth in this AIS.
Second.
Any discussion or comment? Question? Yeah, Randy.
I'm going to support this motion, but as I shared before, I always worry about delaying, kind of keeping up with market and keeping the flow of increases going, because what generally happens, it's great when you do the one-time thing, but later on, it looks like all of a sudden, well, why is she getting such a big pay raise to bring it back within market range? So that's just a cautionary note I have. I just wanted to say it. Again, I support the motion, and I will be voting in favor, but I just want us to think about that. This isn't something we want to keep doing.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, we have a motion. It's been seconded. All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Sarah, for your wonderful work. And with that, we are adjourned until our 7:30 meeting.